Hello, welcome everybody to 20 Minutes With. And this month we're actually focusing on a volunteering scheme that we're hosting here in Graham with a charity called Chapter One. And what that involves is teaching kids to read through a PC. So this month we are joined by various members of our team. So we have Stephen Hughes, who is a social impact partner in Graham. We have Laurie Stewart, who is marketing executive for Graham. And we have Susanna Dunn, who is She Submissions Coordinator. And as our guest speaker today, who's dialing in, is Anna Anstead, who's the Corporate Partnerships Manager from Chapter One. So welcome everybody to the podcast. Hello. Very cheerful. Okay, so first things first, let's set the scene. Anna, can you tell us a bit about Chapter One? I know it used to be called TutorMate, which some people may still know it as. You've gone through a recent rebrand, but can you tell us a bit about what Chapter One is all about and what you hope to achieve?
That's correct. We have recently rebranded and we're now known as Chapter One. It's an educational program and its aims is to boost the reading enthusiasm for young readers, and it's really to help set them up for early success in their education. So our online reading volunteer program has dedicated one-to-one volunteers who support the children to boost their confidence and enjoyment of reading. So really to help them strengthen their belief that they're good readers and really help spark their excitement about the world of books. So we're very, very grateful to Graham for supporting us and for supporting us with 20 volunteers this year. It just makes such a difference. And one really interesting stat is that reading for pleasure is actually more important for children's cognitive development than their parents' level of education. And it's actually a more powerful factor in life achievement than socioeconomic background.
I was thinking about this the other day, about the importance of reading, and you learn so much from reading books, even just like learning what's right from wrong, with all of the morals of the tales that you learn about, and also obviously vocabulary and grammar and the basics of English language. But my understanding, Anna, is that there is a real problem though with literacy skills in schools. Can you tell us a bit what they are and why that might be so?
Yeah, I think one of the really shocking stats for me is that 38% of 11-year-olds from disadvantaged backgrounds in England leave primary school each year not sort of having that expected level of standard. And ultimately, if a child can't unlock the power of literacy and be able to read, their opportunity to thrive in education and ultimately life is limited, because everybody needs those basic skills of reading, whether that's to access financial literacy or whatever they need to do throughout their education journey and into life. And what we do find as well, that attainment gap is largest for children and young people eligible for free school meals as well. And that socially disadvantaged backgrounds, children from socially disadvantaged backgrounds are behind their well-off peers by about 11 months when they start school. So there is a big gap, and we need to really close that down. And even more so, the pressure that families and children are under with the cost of living crisis. There's still a legacy of COVID, those school closures, and also those children that were, age 2 and 3 who are now in reception year 1 and 2. They had to go through those early years through lockdowns. So there's had huge impacts on those children. And obviously we've had budget cuts to schools, which also means sort of less teaching assistants. So the programme that we're offering to really support children in these areas, and we do work in areas which have that need, and with schools that particularly have a higher percentage of free school meals, to really try to help close that gap down and help children with their reading journey.
I suppose it really has been a perfect storm of, there's been COVID, there's been the cost of living crisis, budget cuts. It really has been a perfect storm for just really impacting negatively on children's futures and learning to read.
Absolutely.
So Stephen, you're part of the social impact team, so this is your bread and butter. Why did you want to get involved in this? Obviously, you're passionate about helping to develop younger generations. So how did this all come about? How did you even find out about, at the time, TutorMate, now Chapter 1? Can you tell us a bit about that journey?
Yeah, sure. So working in the social impact team, we obviously come across, we're obviously on the lookout for these types of kind of volunteering opportunities or opportunities to get involved in great initiatives that are going on in the community. It was actually one of my colleagues that first found out about this and kind of brought it to myself and our line manager. What kind of stood out for us is as well as the kind of shared values and impact that a scheme like this can obviously have. The timing was great because it coincided with our launch of a new employee volunteering scheme policy that we were launching at Graham. The idea behind that policy really was that we try and encourage all staff across the business to use 2 days volunteering where they could obviously put that to good use and help good causes. Across our projects based staff, we have a lot of opportunities, but not so much for staff who are maybe based in offices across the country. So this tied in really good. The fact that it was something that was, as I say, such high impact, but also could be done remotely, was very, very appealing. And the more we looked into that, the more it became a no-brainer, if you like, because again, it was going to offer a lot of staff within Graham who don't normally get opportunities like this to get involved in volunteering. And as I say, timing-wise, it was great. So when we first we launched a kind of lunch and learn session to kind of get some initial interest. The initial interest there was kind of overwhelming, and we were actually oversubscribed at the beginning, which was great. So yeah, a mixture of timing and the impact for us was some of the key factors that made the decision for us to go ahead with this.
We'll go straight into it. Laurie and Susanna, we have yourselves here who are both volunteering with Chapter 1. So what attracted you to the opportunity and how has it been so far? So Laurie, I'll go to you first.
For me, there was so many reasons why I wanted to get involved. I joined Graham last year and I've always loved to volunteer. It's just something that I kind of consider as who I am. I want to give back. And because this opportunity is really different, it resonated with me because as a child, I really struggled to read. And my parents very kindly sourced a private tutor for me because it wasn't something at school that could be offered. So when I found out this was an opportunity, it just, as Susan said, is a no-brainer to be able to give back, to use the time, the 2 days per year to read with a child. If I really wanted to place, but I was very, very aware that probably a lot of other people would want to do it. So when the email came through, like, you can do it. It honestly made my day, and it continues to make my week. Every single week, I look forward to that 30 minutes with the child. It just really picks me up, and sometimes helps me just remind, there are bigger things in life, to not get stressed over. So, yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, and what about yourself, Susanna? Do you echo that? Has it been a similar experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always wanted to do volunteering on a continual basis, but for me, it was always just a lack of time. And especially now, I'm a single parent, and just spare time for me is very limited. And so to be offered the opportunity to do it in work hours was just great. And also, it is only 30 minutes of your week, and that's very little. But over the course of the year, you'd like to think that you're making a big impact.
What is the process involved? So every week you have how much time allotted to read to children, and what is the process? Susanna, can you talk us through it?
So it's 30 minutes. I'd probably be right in saying that everyone's style is slightly different, but for me, so I would start off with a 5-minute warm-up using flashcards. So they just have to say a word that I put up on the screen, and then maybe 15 to 20 minutes of story time. And then I let my people just choose whatever books they want to read. It kind of keeps them more engaged. and then say the last 5 minutes of whiteboard work. So if there's any words that I think they have struggled with in the story, I'll maybe concentrate on them and the pronunciation of that. But Laurie will probably have maybe a different.
Yeah, I think our style with the people that I'm partnered with has really changed from the first few sessions. I put far too much pressure on myself the first session to achieve 2 books and a game and flashcards, and in reality, the sessions have just changed over time, and we had a little bit of training with chapter 1, and that was invaluable. It just made me realise we're not in this alone. The same fear that I have about, is it good enough, and are we doing enough? It totally felt validated. So I share pretty much the same structure, although I know that some people do differ a little bit, and we're kept right by newsletters that chapter 1 send of monthly tips and everything. So it's pretty much a set structure, and they encourage you to do that.
I think that's really nice to hear as well, like the relationship not just between the child and the volunteer, but also the relationship that chapter 1 has with the volunteers to support you guys through it. Because like when you do think about it, it is a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. So Anna, I'm sure that's really lovely to hear that, the impact that the support and the training is having, because it's probably an element that, people might be thinking, oh, I would love to get involved, but I'm a bit nervous about it. Don't know if I'd be good enough. I don't know what I don't know what I'd be doing. I've never done anything like that before. So the fact that there is that support there is amazing to hear. And what about now, being honest, what have the challenges been? Because all of these things, there is a learning curve and there are challenges. So is there one thing that you have come across, Laurie and Susanna, that you've overcome or anything at all?
I think we could both probably say an accent.
Yes, I knew you were going to say that.
As coming to this. And that's kind of a given, given that the people that I'm based with is in London, and he himself has quite a strong accent, but we've gotten used to each other. For me, I think it's not really a challenge per se, but I personally, as I said, I struggled at the start to kind of put far too much pressure on myself to kind of change my attitude and how I was speaking to him, because I was going from meetings where we, were speaking to managers and directors, and it was quite formal, as it is in a workplace, and then speaking to him 5 minutes later. So, but that was very much, that came with time. I relaxed into the sessions and definitely put less pressure on myself, because during the training you're taught about phonetics and what the child will learn about the school, and it kind of it's not what you're used to in your workplace every day, so it's not necessarily a challenge, but something just to get used to.
Perhaps for me it's these are like 6 and 7 year olds, so the attention span sometimes isn't there for the full 30 minutes, but I don't, like, sometimes I would maybe do like a 25-minute session. It's just no point extending it that bit longer if they're just not there, but probably attention span.
Yeah. I think anybody that has any experience with kids can relate. So another point I wanted to touch on, actually picking up on, Laurie, what you were saying there about accents, and that's surely a good thing as well for kids to have exposure to different accents and an understanding of people who are from different backgrounds, from different places. That could only be, although yes, maybe initially a challenge, but actually a good thing as well for life experience.
Absolutely. I think it is. It's really such a lovely opportunity for these children to have 30 minutes just dedicated one-on-one time with an adult, that an adult is there listening to them, they're listening to an adult, and even with all those, doing the reading and all those other wonderful things, but they're also there just interacting with an adult, and that for some children may be the only half an hour they get, so it is so valuable. And all the things that Laurie and Suzanne was saying, it's just lovely to hear, really, that how beneficial the training's been and the support, and I also run a sort of monthly drop-in session for for volunteers if they'd like to come along and talk to each other. And we want to really make sure that the volunteers are having a good experience, so that ultimately the children are having a good experience as well. So we're incredibly grateful to all the volunteers, especially and to Graham for sort of supporting us this year. And I can just say as well, we're nearly up to 100 hours, Stephen, as well. So I've just had a look this morning, and it was 95 hours of reading support that's been given so far this year, which is amazing. So well done to all the volunteers.
Excellent.
That's amazing. And Stephen, it has been such a success to date.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the stats speak from themselves, the impact that it's having. And what's really interesting in listening to Susanna and Laurie today is that we knew at the beginning of this initiative that it was obviously going to have a positive impact on the children, which is great. But what we're hearing, I've heard it before from some of the other volunteers, is that it's a real learning curve for our guys as well, because teaching's a real skill, right? You know, and people are kind of nervous at the beginning, and that came out right at the beginning with a lot of people who were interested in volunteering. You know, what you mentioned there. Will they be able to do it? But it's a real learning curve, and as people go on, they develop their own skills, their own reading skills to be able to teach not only the kids that they're volunteering with, but you know, people in their own family and their own children, for instance, friends, kids, etc. So it's been brilliant to hear that, and the impact, as I say, at the moment we've recently had our mid-year review. And some of the stats from that, as Anna was touched on, you know, 95 hours, which is brilliant. We're hoping by the end of the year, you know, that's over possibly 300 hours. So that would be absolutely amazing. We've had something like 241 reading sessions, again, halfway through the programme, which is amazing. You know, it feels like not that long ago we were at zero right at the beginning. So that's great. And again, for me, is one of the things is the coordinator of this initiative is that we've still got all those volunteers that started with us. Quite normally, even a business like ours, people come and go, and a lot of people have really stuck with it.
Yeah, is that something that you guys can relate to? That like the relationship you've developed with the kids, that you know, that you do feel an attachment with them, and have you noticed progress with them from when you started to now?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've put my people up to reading levels since we started, and I think probably this week I'll need to put them up again. But yeah, definitely you're able to see the progress, and I think at the start he was maybe able to manage 2-3 letter words on his own, and now that's maybe like 5 to 6 letter words on his own. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And what about yourself, Laurie?
Yeah, I mean, I noticed a real difference after Christmas. I hadn't been speaking to him for a couple of weeks, and we moved him up straight away to another reading level alongside of his teacher's agreement. It was just, and that is a case in point where I really felt he'd done really well. One thing that really, I think, enhanced my relationship with him was we got the chance to meet certainly the London class I'm partnered with over Zoom. That was organised by Chapter 1, and honestly, it was the best 30 minutes of my week. I got to see him. We regularly talk about what we like to do in our spare time at the weekends, and I told him that I'm a bit of a geek about Lego, and I showed him Lego that I'd built recently, and it was just such a lovely time because obviously we can hear them, they can hear us, but to see him, it was just lovely. You know, it was really, really rewarding, and to hear about the other, you know, experience of the other volunteers, it was just, it had such an impact on me, and it continues to make such an impact on me.
Yeah, I mean, like as you say, Stephen, it's a win-win for everyone involved.
Can I just add? I mean, the stats on the progress and impact are there for everyone to see, which is great, and it's very tangible. But there's other stories, and recently there was feedback from one of the other volunteers that was shared in our kind of group chat that, you know, from one of the parents of a young person who's in the scheme, they get their reading session on a Friday, And the parent said that every Friday morning when they're getting ready for school, they're just super excited. They're running about the house, getting ready and pure shouting because it's reading day, it's reading on the computer day. And that is a massive impact for young people that, you know, before this scheme was up and running, probably weren't that interested in reading. Now are super excited because, and really looking forward to that on a weekly basis. So it has a massive impact on all levels, not just reading, but you know, socially it's having a huge impact on the young people as well.
Before we close out, Stephen, what are the plans for the future, and how can people get in touch if they are interested in volunteering?
Well, the immediate future is to continue with the cohorts we've got in the moment. We're really looking forward to kind of getting to the end of this academic year, and then we'll have an end of year review where we'll be able to kind of do a deep dive into those stats again and the impact that. We are obviously very, very keen to continue this. As I say, the whole step into this has been a huge learning curve, but you know, we feel as if it's something we definitely want to continue. There's some great from Chapter 1 themselves. There's some great things coming down the line. So they are launching in Manchester this year, which again is super exciting for us because we obviously have lots of staff and projects based in Manchester. So we're really excited to kind of be a part of that, and that's something we're working on together at the moment. Chapter 1's also recently launched in Scotland. So again, looking at the next academic year for 23-24, we want to open up this opportunity to our Scottish staff that can get involved in that again, that can have a massive impact for us. So we're looking at rolling the opportunity out. At the moment, we have 2 cohorts that we're supporting. We'd like to see that going into 3 or 4 for the next academic year. So that is a big focus for us at the moment, which obviously then means that we have to reach out to between 30 and 40 volunteers, which is definitely doable. And I think, you know, hearing the experiences of these guys here today, you know, will only encourage more people to get involved. So that's the huge focus at the moment. And if people are listening to the podcast and they want to get involved, then it's just a case of, you know, send me an email. People are speaking internally with their colleagues, and people have approached me already. So there's a list that's compiled at the moment, but probably around about July, August, September time, we'll have a proper recruitment drive where we will get a lot of this stuff out. We'll try and get more people involved. But yeah, we'd love to be able to support 3 or 4 cohorts in the next academic year. And then look at the impact that would have, which I think would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and as Laurie and Susanna and Anna have gone through, there's loads of support as well from Chapter 1 with volunteers from start to finish throughout the process. So that's available as well. Okay, so last question. Very, very important question, which I'll go through each of you. I hope you're prepared. Anna, what is your favourite book and why?
I have to say I have got small children, and I've really enjoyed rereading Matilda. It was one of my favourite books when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I've loved rereading that to my daughter, and it just sort of shows you what you can sort of overcome. So yeah, Matilda for me.
Perfect. Laurie, what about you?
I find this such a hard question.
It is hard, yeah.
I think probably for me, it's a book probably most people know because of a TV show, but Normal People.
Yes,
Sally Rooney.
yes, love it.
Love it. Would recommend it to anybody. I'm such a sop, but yeah, favourite book.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Sana?
Yeah, probably Pride and Prejudice. Elizabeth Bennet is just the number one feminist for me, yeah.
Stephen?
Yeah, I was thinking about this morning when I was on the plane, and it's funny because the book that came to my mind was James and the Giant Peach.
Yeah, another classic.
The reason for that is it goes all the way back to primary school, and it was the first book I ever remember reading and completing at school, and I can still remember the story vividly. So, you know, that impact from, I know it wasn't that long ago, but in primary school, just reading that book is kind of stuck with me. So
yeah, I think actually, when you're saying that, you do sort of remember the first book you read from start to finish. Mine was Lord of the Flies, which isn't exactly a feel-good novel. I wouldn't say it's my favourite, but I remember it because it was the first one I finished. The one I really love is a very recent book, and turned into a film, like Normal People, or that was a series. But Where the Crawdads Sing is a gorgeous, gorgeous novel. Love it. Okay. So everyone, thanks so much. That was really insightful and really lovely to hear all the beautiful stories, and the fact that it is making such a positive impact to everybody involved, both the kids and the volunteers, and also to Chapter 1, Anna, as well, that, you know, it's been such a great partnership with Graham, which is fantastic.
Yeah, so, just to say, it's been brilliant working with Stephen, and just a really big thank you to all the volunteers, and Laurie and Susanna as well. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for having us on this podcast.
No worries. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, everybody. Well, that's us for this episode. Join us next month, and I will see you and hear from you all soon. Thanks. Bye.